Hello, I'm here today with Mike Roeth with the North American Council for Freight Efficiency and talking about the Run on Less Messy Middle event that you guys ran last year. And you've been, I know, ever since then going through a lot of data from that. Really quick overview of what Messy Middle was and some of the data. What are some things you're finding out from the data?
Yeah, so we do this every 2 years. This is our fifth Run on Less, and there's a reason 2 years it takes that long to kind of do it. So it takes 6-8 months to plan it and get our collaborators, the fleets that want to participate, as well as funding to do it, et cetera. And then we do a boot camp session leading up to the actual run. And then you're exactly right. Now we're looking at millions of lines of data. The way we accomplish this is we do track the trucks for 18 days in September. Last September we did that. But we also know that you're just not going to learn anything from data. You also have to get the human perspective, the opinions and so forth. So we went out to all 13 sites that operated these trucks. We interviewed 105 people. We also talked to another dozen people that were NACFE or RMI, and we took all of that video and we've been mining that data or that information that they talked about. So maybe one talked about why a driver likes or doesn't like the truck, or another one talked about maintenance. And so now we're going through all of that, a massive amount of data from the truck with Geotab devices attached to all of them, as well as this interview data and this boot camp education information. So it's a massive pile that we're going through to really understand what we learned. Now, having said that, we did publish some initial findings right after the run, and it'll be interesting to see how much those initial findings change in our final findings.
As you actually go more through the data. And unlike, I remember the first Run on Less was strictly like fuel economy. That's the first two, long haul and regional. And then you went to electric trucks.
That's right.
For the next two. But this one is a little bit of everything, right?
It is. So we said a number of years ago, we're in a messy middle here, a middle time frame between diesel and what we think will be fully electric. Now that might be 30 or 40 years from now, but we do believe that electric trucks are probably the future. But in between there's going to be a lot of solutions around bio and renewable diesel, natural gas, battery electric, maybe hydrogen, hybrids. There's all these things. So we think this is going to be a messy time. But our industry's been kind of built for this time. We can figure this out. We've got the data, we got the information, we understand duty cycles. So we can place these different powertrain solutions in the right duty cycles and business areas to gain their benefits and mitigate their challenges. But we'll have multiple fuels, I'm pretty certain. And what we found here in the run is that these fuels are performing well. So whether, again, they're these renewable liquid fuels to natural gas, battery, hydrogen, they're all can do well. And so the suppliers and manufacturers are bringing good products. Secondly, the fleets are making them work in their operations, not just a complete one-on-one replacement of this thing for the traditional diesel truck, but they're figuring out how that can work. Good example of that is length of haul. So there are a lot of Class 8 trucks that do less than 300 miles. I mean, we got in our head that all Class 8 does 500 miles a day and the truckers sleep in the truck stop, and that's really not happening. And we actually submit that's becoming a lower part of trucking where more return to base and that sort of thing. So the fleets are figuring out how to take these good solutions that can't do everything diesel did and find the right place for them. So I think that's our biggest findings.
Hear a lot about the Tesla, how it performed in this run.
So I think battery electric trucks are a great example of when something is new, it's expensive, doesn't work real well against what we're used to. And I think that's what we're seeing. And then how you actually execute it with how do we get power to the sites or to the truck stops to charge them, all those sort of things. Those things that are real challenges. There's a lot of things going on and like leaps in technology. So weight, performance, battery life, all those things. A lot of the things that a lot of people thought were going to be huge challenges with the battery electric trucks are starting to show that they're not so much, and they're able to bring products that I think will work really well. I've been in this industry a long time, and battery electric trucks do help us with a number of things that we've really struggled with. The battery electric truck is simpler by nature, and I don't think yet the benefits of that simplicity have really showed up. And what we're seeing right now with some of the electric trucks, really the ones that are purpose-built for only battery electric, the Tesla Semi and Windrose we're both in, they have ranges between 400 and 500 miles depending on the weight per charge. And then they're getting, very fast charging in the order of 30 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes to get those kind of ranges because of the incredibly fast charging that they're able to do. I call that like where battery electric trucks are probably going. Not all the manufacturers are there yet, et cetera, but kind of if one can do it, more will do it over time.
So what'd you find out about some of the things that are available now? Natural gas, biodiesel, renewable diesel,
Right.
even really, really good diesel fuel efficiency.
Yeah, exactly. So all of those are in play. And so we always say that, if some of these other fuels where you'd have to go get infrastructure or work with somebody in truck stops to get those fuels to the site, if you can't do that, work on fuel efficiency because we are right in the middle of going from 6 to 8 to 10 mile per gallon with these trucks, depending on lots of things, including how much freight you're hauling. And we've also seen super trucks from the DOE do 12, 14, 16. So there's still a lot of ways to go with, really good driving practices, better cruise control for fuel economy, aerodynamics, tires, idle reduction. So all of these things are in play, and those efficiency technologies are really important for these alternative fuels because they help with range, which is one of our biggest challenges. So if you can have a truck that is 20, 30% more efficient, that'll be 20 or 30% less battery you might need, and that really helps with cost and weight and so forth. So all these things are in play, but the trucks cost more. You got to get the infrastructure. Biodiesel and renewable diesel are not available at every truck stop right now. So, that has to happen to make these things happen. So none of this is an easy button.
Right.
But all of it's really important for efficiency with respect to making money in trucking. The old sustainability's got to be green to the pocketbook as well as to the environment. I think we all get that, but there are solutions amongst all of what I've been talking about that can do that.
I was talking to Fleet earlier today that he said, 15 years ago or so when we had the whole CNG was the hot thing. With renewable natural gas, it seems there's more interest in natural gas now.
We often call technologies and new products generation 1, generation 2, generation 3. So sometimes that's what I'm kind of talking about. Generation 1 can be pretty rough. I mean, it's early on. We're trying to figure out the technology. We're putting it in real customers' hands. But then Gen 2 and Gen 3. So I would say, with natural gas, we may be in like the Gen 3 kind of where, first of all, there's 3 things that are going on that really help natural gas this time around now. That's the fact that we have an engine with high power and was designed specifically for natural gas. So the 15-liter engine is really a good engine for natural gas. The second is the fueling infrastructure. So companies have been putting up public and private natural gas fueling, both fast fuel and slow fuel. So those are becoming much easier to get. The infrastructure's kind of there. Then thirdly is renewable natural gas. I mean, we didn't know that we were going to be able to produce and that there would be a business case to take cow manure, landfill waste, all of these waste, and we're going to continue to have waste.
Yeah, that's not going away.
It's not going away. So instead of that methane going up and creating a bad situation in the atmosphere, they grab that methane and turn it into a fuel for trucks. And so how much natural gas will it take? 5%, 10%, 30% of North American trucking? It's probably in the 10% range, but that's significantly higher than today. And that, if we can use RNG, it has a real environmental and cost opportunity.
We've been talking a lot about data and AI, and we talked about all this data that you're combing through. How is data affecting the ability to make these decisions and for these, alternative ways to advance?
I don't think we'd be here. These alternatives would not exist as real practical solutions without data, without telematics devices that are grabbing all of this massive amount of data on the truck and transporting that or storing it and transporting it to fleets and to researchers and developers and suppliers to bring these products. There's just no way. We wouldn't have done this 10, 15 years ago. So now we're a stronger industry that can use data to help make better decisions. And with that, then this is enabled. So I think not only is it important, but just like an absolute foundational part of what we're now able to do. These electric trucks couldn't do the work they're doing, hydrogen, all these just could not be in the performance they are if we didn't have the data to adjust and change and improve. Yeah, it's really exciting times because the industry needs to be open to using that data and ready for some of this change. We can't have our proverbial heads in the sand, or it's not like you have to do this today. But I think nearly all fleets need to be investing in telematics and data, and the analysis tools that go along with this. Geotab's marketplace, I think, is a great example of that. Then they need to be looking at what technologies fit their business model the best, and then act on it when they can, because their competitors are going to, and their competitors in their part of trucking will, and then that's a dangerous thing when you're running a business.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to go over some of these findings, and look forward to hearing more about it.
Always a pleasure talking to you, Deborah.